Welcome, everyone, to the 633 podcast. My name is Brad Reeves, and I'm alongside my co host, Justin Richards. And today we have a special guest, Mark Elenbaas. Mark, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
It's
Great. Happy Monday.
Great to see you, man. Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And typically, what we'd like to say is like, did you grow up in the Christian household? Like, kind of like lead with that and just share kind of like your testimony.
Yeah, sure. So, to answer your question, the first one, I did grow up in the Christian household. Actually, I grew up Lutheran.
Okay.
So, mom and dad dragged us to church every Sunday. It was not an option. It was you're coming to church. So, but even so, growing up in the church and participating as I kind of got through my high school years, I kind of drifted away a little bit, and it didn't really mean much. So, so then when I moved to Michigan from Phoenix, I found myself alone, no friends, pretty much trying to figure out what's my purpose in life.
Yeah.
So a little bit of my past back history. When I was 9, I had cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so I think having cancer at that age, you're still young enough where you're not maybe contemplating like, oh, that was pretty rough. Like that could have been all I wrote for my life, at 9. And then I had a relapse at 12. So fast forwarding to being 20-ish, just kind of sitting on my bed thinking, what am I doing here in Michigan? And that was when I made the profession and said, God, like, you saved me for a reason. So and at the same time, it was kind of a working at a and don't judge me for this, but at a telemarketing firm.
Nice.
Right? So
you're calling people for their car's extended warranty.
Yeah, it was it was interesting. It was alumni directories, right? Now keep in mind I'm dating myself here, but like this is pre LinkedIn, pre Facebook even. So these people that would go to these Ivy League schools, that was how they networked. So we would call them, hey, John Doe, like they have you at this address and so on. And then, oh, by the way, do you want to buy this $50 alumni directory?
Yeah.
But one of my QB mates was a youth pastor.
Okay.
And so he started just asking me, hey, what brings you to Michigan, et cetera. Just really friendly guy, like 7'2", I think. So one day he says, do you play tennis? And I said, well, I don't know if I would say play tennis necessarily. I have played tennis. And so we started playing tennis, and he shared the gospel with me, and the rest was history. So, yeah.
And so you grew up in Arizona. When you were 9, you were in Arizona, or were you back in Michigan?
Well, I was in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then we shortly after I was diagnosed, we moved to Arizona.
And what specifically type of cancer did you have?
Leukemia.
Okay.
So, and that was in the 70s. So back then the odds weren't great.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that I got treatment when I did. So, yeah.
That's good. So how long did you live in Arizona for?
Let's see here. I think it was 4th grade up right through the first year of college.
Okay.
So my mom at the time was terminally ill. She had a disease called lupus, which is an autoimmune disease that attacks like kidneys and the heart and all that. So I think she understood where her state was, and she wanted to get back to Michigan. So of course I was first year of college. I had stupidly bought a brand new car thinking I'm working full time, I'm making good money. And so they said, we're moving back to Michigan. And my sister and I said, okay, well, we'll see you later. We're going to get an apartment.
Oh, wow.
And that lasted 3 months.
Okay.
And we were flat broke. And we're like, Mom, Dad, would you take us back? Like,
oh my gosh.
Holy crap, man. Dang.
So, yeah.
This is like pre-Dave Ramsey's
show.
Oh,
yeah. I had no clue. My mom and dad are like, well, we'll co-sign for you, but are you sure? And I'm like, Mom, I'm making really good money. Of course, I was living at home, going to school at night, so yeah, the wisdom of an 18-year-old at the time. So
would you say, you just mentioned that you went to school, couple questions. For how long did you go to school? And to like, was there, obviously because of cancer, that kind of drew you closer to the Lord, but during school, was there any moments that like kept you away from God that specifically happened? Or was it like, hey, I have my firm foundation, I'm going through school and then graduating?
Yeah, I mean, I think that oftentimes it's those high school years that kids kind of drift away, and that was kind of the same for me.
Yep.
So, but then once I got saved, I was like, I think I might be called to youth ministry.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
and so I was working at Family Christian bookstores at the time here in the after I left the telemarketing job. Of course, this is Mark being saved and thinking like God needs to
Yeah.
work with me, so I must need to be in a Christian place. So yeah, I worked at Christian bookstores, and that's where I met my wife at the time. So she was, good Baptist girl, and so I met her, and we dated for a while, got engaged, and then ended up getting married in '93. So then we both worked for Zondervan for like 12 years or so.
Oh, wow.
I worked in a lot of the different departments there, but one of them I worked in was a marketing thing where we created a merchandising system to help people figure out what Bible to choose,
Yeah.
because Zondervan was really interested in like the fact that your pastor says go buy a study Bible, and you
Mm.
go in and you see like 20 feet of Bibles
Yeah.
at Baker or
Yeah.
somewhere, and you're like, okay, I didn't find that Bible, and they were frustrated, so they would leave. So yeah, we Zondervan tested a bunch of stuff, and then we ended up creating a merchandising system for that. So that was good. And then later on I ended up leaving the Christian kind of industry, and working for another company. So
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, so all right.
married in
Yeah.
93.
Yeah.
And so my wife of course knew the leukemia and the situation, and wouldn't be able to have kids and stuff, and so she's like, I'm good with that. Like, I don't
Okay.
have to give birth. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Okay.
yes, this
Yeah.
is a win-win, right? So yeah, we did 10 years of just kind of getting to know each other. Didn't, need to jump in right away with kids. And so we were married in 93, and then in 2004, we brought our first daughter home. We adopted from China. So that was an experience. We traveled to China,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean, it's kids change you, right? But during that time, of course, a lot of the time we were working for Zondervan and so on. And so we were helping out with the church and, youth ministry there, still not feeling like, I don't know if I want to quit my job and go to seminary to become a
Oh,
youth
wow.
pastor.
Yeah.
Had contemplated it, but the more I kind of prayed about it and we thought about it, we thought, God can still use me here, just in a lay capacity, not
Yeah.
necessarily, with a degree.
I
Yeah.
think like you mentioned God used you in that aspect, and I think that that can be encouraging to a lot of people too, where it's like a lot of people think that, hey, in order for God to use me, I got to hold a mic. But it's like there's not really any.
Right.
I mean, they
As we hold mics.
God, yeah, God can use you,
Yep.
of course, but like
Yeah.
speaking like as an encouragement to people, where it's like whether you're working at a bookstore, working 9 to 5, like whatever it is, like God can use you no matter what. And I think that when our eyes are open to that and our
Yeah.
hearts are open to that, like we're like, God, show me, teach me, what is it you're trying to reveal to me in this season. So I think
Right.
that that's really cool.
Yeah, I think, we were talking before this, and you kind of mentioned, well, you obviously mentioned here how like kids like change your life. You mentioned to me like moving like homes later on because you wanted your kids to feel comfortable.
Right.
Maybe talk about kind of that a little bit and kind of what you learned
Yeah.
from the experience and what the kids were teaching you at the time.
Yeah. I think that, when you initially, everyone wants to get the home. It's the American dream, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
you buy a home, and if it's before kids, something you're like, this is a great home. This is, and then you sometimes realize, oh wait, maybe this isn't the best place to be raising a kid, and so then everyone wants to get that perfect kind of
Mm.
like, the Smith family,
Yeah.
So the school system was predominantly Caucasian,
Okay.
and so we were thinking, we didn't think that there would be any sort of bullying or
Yeah.
anything, but like we thought, and having been to China, they warned us or kind of cautioned us. They said like, take that memory in, like how it felt when you were the minority, like,
Yeah.
in a sea of Chinese people,
Yeah.
and like, you don't speak the language, and that might be how your kids later on go to school.
Got
They
it.
think,
Yeah.
bullying stuff. So there was never any bullying, but I think parenting is a lot about sacrifice. You do what you need to do for your kids, and you want them to live a better life, and so on. So we did end up we adopted our second daughter. Unfortunately, it was 6 years later
Mm.
because there was this thing in the middle called the Beijing Olympics in 2008,
Oh yeah.
and
Yep.
that
Yep.
kind of put a halt on all adoptions. So the girls are six years apart, but yeah. So then we thought, well, we might have an opportunity to move, so then we could get her into a bilingual Chinese American or Chinese English classes
Oh
and
wow.
stuff. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so that was a great experience, and she did that until third grade, at which we said, okay, she was ready to move on. She's like, I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
learning these Chinese
Yeah.
characters is tough, Dad. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll move you to a regular school. But I think that there's a lot of things that as you have your journey, your work can be a factor, kids can be a factor. You just, life gets busy, and so that can start affecting your relationships, your relationships with God, your relationships with family, extended family, etc. And so one of the things that started to happen was kind of a little bit of a fracturing of our family. And so for my wife, she was not thinking that she had the same beliefs
Oh
as
wow.
when we first got married. So that was tough. And so you think, the Bible verse that comes to mind is, the whole unequally yoked, and you think like, if you can help bring that person back, like stay in the relationship for that reason. And so
So she walked away from the faith?
she did, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a tough call. That was a
Yeah.
tough call
Yeah.
that Sunday, to say like, okay, this is,
Yeah.
what do I do and how do I react to that? So I chose to stay in it, and so that was about 13 years. And through that 13 years, it was kind of, I my faith was diminished, because you're trying to keep the peace
Yeah.
and trying to manage everything, and instead of me getting stronger, I felt like there was a little bit of me walking away from the faith to try and match the energy that was in the household. So I know I know God hates divorce. There's no denying that. But after, in 2023, when she said, I think we're done, it was kind of like, for me, a little bit of like that burden was just lifted.
Yeah.
So yeah. So prior to that, I was working at the East Paris campus, helping out with the kids,
Oh dang.
and so with my oldest daughter.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so that was kind of how I kept a little bit of the connection with the kids, because in addition to my wife walking away, she said, we really, I'm not comfortable with you taking the kids to church. So
Oh
that
man.
was tough
How
to
long ago was
manage.
this?
It was 13 years prior. I guess the math would be, 2023 is when she filed, so it would be 13 years prior to that. So we
Okay.
were in it for a while,
You,
so
Wow.
you guys
Yeah.
were like married how long?
30 years.
Yeah.
in 23. Yeah, because we were married in 93.
Which that's a
So,
long time, man.
Yeah.
Well, to put in perspective, I'm 27. So
Yeah.
you were married longer than I've been alive. I'm like, I'm trying to like fathom that in my head. Like, oh, that's so scary. Like what? So I got married December 2024. So like,
Yeah.
I'm a year and a half in. I've had my wife on here. Like,
Mhm.
what's some advice that you have for people
Yeah.
being married? Obviously, like you stayed in the marriage, which was good, but then she like kind of left you, which is biblical grounds for you
Right.
stepping out. So there's nothing you did wrong there.
Yeah.
And I'll include a Bible verse on the screen here when we edit this. But
Cool.
yeah, what are some stuff that you learned from
Yeah.
that, and what's some advice you'd give someone like me? Or
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say it's all about staying rooted in your combined relationship with Christ.
come on,
So,
okay,
Yeah. Because if you have that, you have the alignment both in the direction that God is moving your family,
Yeah.
and then kids one day, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you'll have that. You'll
Mhm.
be a team together, and you won't be having to argue about. And I mean, you're still gonna have your arguments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Trust me, they come. But having that firm foundation is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to weather those, and you'll have those. It'll ebb and flow. So
Yeah.
you're in the honeymoon phase. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're still good. You're still good.
There's still a lot to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to go back a little bit because I'm thinking of what you said there, what you learned with marriage, but you said you adopted your second kid in 2008.
2009.
Okay.
Because they're 6 years apart.
Okay, so that was right around the stock market crash and everything, and I'm like, the immediate thought I had is like, this got to be a man of faith to like make that decision. Like,
yes, it
from
was.
a financial standpoint, you mean?
Yeah, well, just just an obedience to God's standpoint,
Yeah.
like, because that lines up with you, like in marriage too, being like, I'm gonna stick with this and I'm gonna help her.
It's funny we didn't talk about this, so this is not scripted, right? Look at right in the camera there. Yeah, in 2008, I was up for a promotion at work. Like, I had left Zondervan, I was working for another company called Nielsen, and so I was up for a promotion, and we were going to move to Schaumburg, Illinois, which we were talking earlier about the diversity, and our daughters would be the token Chinese minority. I mean, there is a lot of diversity there, and we were so happy. And so we went over, my wife and I, and our daughters, and we were all happy. We were starting to think like, well, where would we live? Do we need to buy a house? Do we just need to rent for a while and figure things out? And then at the last minute, the day after I kind of interviewed with the director, they said, oh, we've got a change of plans. You're going to need to be on the Walgreens account instead of the Sears Kmart, which Sears Kmart's done. They're no longer a thing. So yeah, that's another story, I guess. But I said at that point, I said, well, that kind of changes things a lot. And so I'm going to decline the promotion. That was before the market crashed. So had we done that, and like Nielsen was not a company that would be like, we'll take care of if you don't sell your house in 3 months, we'll just pay you for it. They were like, no, you're on your own.
Whoa.
So it would have been financial ruin, I think, for us if we had done that. So yeah, it was definitely a God thing.
Yeah.
We were showing our house during that time because at the time we had our daughter and we wanted to move. And of course, all these foreclosed houses, people would be like, your house is lovely. Like, we really like your house, but there's one down the street that's like, $40,000 or more cheaper. So we're going to buy that one. And we're like,
that's a lot.
What are we doing wrong? But we were up against some tough competition. So yeah.
So you've had some pretty hefty trials between the adopting and that, and now divorce. So I was just noticing that kind of thing.
Yep. So
what do you think, to just circle back on the adoption aspect of it, like what encouragement or advice would you give to like parents out there that could be couples that could be in similar situations where like they're in a position where either they can't have kids or they're thinking about adoption? I guess, like, what encouragement would you give to people like that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I would say, it does not have to be international adoption. Certainly when we were working for Zondervan, it was part of your employee benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think you could have a normal, like if it was local adoption, there was an amount, and then it was double the amount for international because you have all the travel and you're in the country for two, so that was part of the deal. But like, I would say like adoption is like, I never had a thought of like, oh, will this be my kid? Right. Because, and then in some cases we would be, this only thing happened once to us where people came up to us in the grocery store at Meijer and they said, is this your real kid?
Oh,
or is this your real, I think it was, is this
That'd
your
be
real
awkward.
child? And I'm like, well, she's real. She's not a doll. But you could tell in their heart, they
mean
meant
biological.
they just didn't have the vernacular.
And then biological, not real.
Exactly.
That just sounds bad.
And I said, yeah, I'm her real dad. And then funny story. So in 2018, we took both the girls back to China for like they call it like a homeland tour. So think about like being raised in China, but never having experienced the Great Wall of China. Like people think like, oh, you've never seen the Great Wall of China. So we did a big tour and we ended up in southern China, which is where my oldest daughter's from. And so my daughter and I, we were at the time studying, like, it's called Wing Chun. It's the martial art that Bruce Lee learned.
Wow.
It's a Chinese martial art.
That's awesome.
And so we're we're practicing, and it was kind of cool to do that in China. But like we were over in East Grand Rapids one day, and we were in the park, and we were practicing throws. And so like, she would throw me, and then like I like tripped her and put her, and I mean, didn't slam her on the ground, but like,
Yeah.
and like it drew, like people came over and they're like, "Are you okay?" And we're she's my daughter, like,
Yeah.
because if you think like this is a Caucasian man and this
Oh,
this
yeah.
like tiny little
Yeah.
Asian girl, so that was kind of a funny. And then I thought, oh yeah, because we just never really, growing up, our daughters never really had any issues with. They just kind of saw themselves as, we're just a family, and this
Yeah.
is, we're
That's awesome.
my dad's different color, but yeah. So
How old were they when you adopted them?
both were about 15 months.
Okay.
So yeah.
So they've just known you basically as your
Yeah.
dad their whole life.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were ripped.
Yeah.
Somebody got rid of them and they have to feel
Right.
bad. It's
Yeah.
like they just know you.
Yeah.
And they're loved by you.
And back to your question, Brad, as far as like what advice would you say? It's like, you're still gonna have those firsts. Like, so as a parent, you're gonna see those first, like we talk about, like baby's first words, baby's first steps and stuff. So when we adopted our oldest daughter, we're in the hotel, like, and she came to my arms, like she didn't want to go to her mom, and that was just, they warned us about that. That can kind of happen where they kind of think like, wait, hold on, like I've only known nannies, and now they just handed me, so I want to then not go to the women. But anyway, so put her on the bed, changed her diaper, and then she gets off the bed and just starts running in the hotel room. And I was like, she can walk. Like I was just like,
dude.
I couldn't believe it. I
What
was
the
like,
heck?
I guess
Dang.
15 months they're running. They're so
that's almost a year.
that was kind of a foreshadowing, because she lettered in track.
Wow.
For so
Was that the oldest one, or?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yep.
Dude,
So they're a joy, though. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever change anything there. So
I feel like it so represents the heart of the father, right? It's like adopting is like he's adopted us into his
Yeah.
family. I was immediately thinking that. Like you guys' heart to do that. I'm like, man, this is so much like God. He takes us in, he doesn't treat us any different.
Right.
And that's what you guys did. And it's like you were that excited about her running around and stuff like that. It's like, you don't have like a biological stake in this, so to say, but I'll put more verses on the screen for that, for God adopting us. But I just figured I'd mention that because I think that's really cool.
That's a great tie-in. Yeah. And I actually did have a friend while I was working at Zondervan that they decided they were going to adopt as well. And so I won't say his name and stuff, but like he was like, they had 2 biological kids. And so he's like, am I going to be able to do this? I'm like, no problem. You got this.
Yeah.
You got this. So
that's definitely a big decision. And
it is
from a financial standpoint. I'm sure it's quite a bit too. Do you mentioned that obviously your ex-wife at this point stepped away from the faith, but like continuing to go to church and be a man of God as you are, like obviously you see your daughter, so it's like maybe talk about that a little bit, about like just reflecting the love of Christ to them. Like, are they believers? And if they're not, like, is that challenging for you? Or like maybe just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say my oldest daughter is not currently, well, both my daughters are not currently attending church, as her mom isn't attending, or their mom isn't attending as well. But with my oldest daughter, she was old enough when we were, as she grew up, we were going to church and so on. And so she knows the seed has been planted.
Yeah.
And so even then, when we were helping out at children's ministry, both of us were doing it. And so like, I was like, she's getting that.
Yeah.
Like that's, God can use that. Yeah. So I'm like, the Holy Spirit can definitely soften the heart. And so, I that's what I pray for. Basically, it's just, God, just use me. Help me to show up. Help me to be consistent, because they need to see that.
But I think too, like that's really a testament of your faith too, because like how, and you can use this for any situation, but how easy is it to like be walking the walk when you're around Christians, right? But when you're like, in your case, like with your daughters, like I'm sure they probably say things that are like, that's definitely not biblical. And it's like, for you, it's like, okay, take a step back, like lead with love, but like It's just like that can be challenging, I'm sure,
Yeah.
as a parent.
Yeah, and I did have to lay some ground rules down because, obviously over those 13 years that I was just sort of like, there was stuff going on that I wasn't really happy with. So when my daughter would come over for the weekends to stay, I'd say like, these are the house rules here. Like
Yeah.
these are things that we're not doing. These are things that, are okay and stuff. So, and thankfully my younger daughter, she was respectful of that. And so the relationship, they say like you're never supposed to pick favorites, right? So, so I don't, just for the record, I don't pick favorites. But the personality wise, with my oldest daughter, we're closer.
Yeah.
And so, so we still do things quite a bit. She loves Taylor Swift, and I'm like her only friend that will do Taylor Swift. So yeah,
You're a Swiftie.
I took her to a concert, I think when she was 12, and it was so cute. I said, these are the ground rules. You can't listen to track, I don't know, 5, 8, and 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're at the concert, and the song comes on, and she just kind of shoots me a look like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're here.
Yeah.
Like, cover yours. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cute because at that age they're still looking to you for guidance.
Oh yeah.
So they've maintained a pretty good relationship with you, and stuff like that, and you've still had a really good influence in your life. Because that's where I was going to go next. Is like,
Right.
is that like, are they distant from you and stuff like that? But it sounds like you still have a level of relational rapport.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I would love it if my relationship was better with my youngest daughter, but I think that she's kind of in her late teenage years, and I think that I just, again, like I give it to God and say like, God, like later I hope that she comes back to say like, hey, dad isn't a monster, like he's, and so then she can come back and stuff. But and I think, just an advice for you, like kids eventually, it's interesting how you can have a really good relationship with your daughter or your son when they're young, and then like as they change and they age, and maybe you're not a sports person but they want to do sports, and you're kind of like, so I guess my advice would be like, find a connection point and just go with it. Now for my confession time, I guess, for my oldest daughter, it was Pokemon.
Okay.
So we would do Pokemon Go, and I mean, we would just endless hours of like just driving around. I mean, I have stories I could share with that are just kind of funny. And then even to some degree with my youngest daughter, she was into the Pokemon, but then as kind of aged out of that, my oldest daughter is really into theater. She loves going to like theater shows and stuff. So like Les Mis and Hamilton and those kind of things. So we continue to do that. And so for my youngest daughter, it's all about the anime. She loves anime, and so
the youngest one.
Yeah. So we're watching those together. And like I'm the dad that will like start putting the logic together and ruin it for her, basically. And she's like, Dad, I'm not gonna watch with you.
My wife does
like,
that.
I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna betray that guy,
like,
and
basically
then like
telling her what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and she's like, you're ruining it for me.
Yeah. Kelsey will never have seen a movie, and she'll like guess the words they're gonna say next. And I'll ask her like, how do you know that? She's like, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, you're like, are you like in the Matrix? You're reading this like somehow? Yeah. So, but yeah, so we, for my youngest, that's kind of our connection at this point. It's very, kind of limited, but I think I pray that it'll improve later. So
I see a lot of, I see how my dad's been, I can see my dad and what you're saying, because I'm as the older one, like, and I liked all the stuff he liked. So I liked sports. I liked moving around outside a bunch. Like when I was younger, he hadn't played video games for years now, but he was playing Call of Duty, and I liked that stuff. So I feel like him and I connected. But my brother's a theater kid. He'll like paint, and stuff like that. So it's just like so different. But my dad's brought him to rock concerts because my brother likes rock. I don't listen to rock much. So it was. But I've watched my dad like make that effort, kind of like you're saying, and it's like it's just so cool to see like dads that are willing to do that. Like
you have to, and moms too. It's you're showing up, right? So it's that sacrifice, but was never a burden for me. Like it wasn't, wasn't like it wasn't something that I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this, with my daughters. But
so I know, obviously I know the answer, but like for you, went through a divorce, but like maybe talk a little bit about how God used you recently, like with leading the group for divorce and care
Yeah,
and like through Ada, and maybe like just because I think oftentimes when and you hear people's testimonies, and I think that a lot of times God will use like God will bring someone through their testimony and heal them, but then use them to basically help other people
Come
like
on.
get healed from that. And I think that
Yep.
yeah,
that's what's really encouraging. It's like 30 years of marriage, dude. Like, and you
yeah,
could have easily went left field, but you chose
yeah,
to buckle down, firm foundation, and now
right.
God is allowing you to be in a position where you're leading a divorce care group. So maybe chime in on that a little bit
Yeah, no,
and
that's
how that came about.
I'd be happy to share. Yeah. So like when my wife, said like I think it's time, and we knew, I mean, after over those 13 years, we had discussions. So it's like I knew it was eventually coming. We were kind of hoping that it would happen after graduation.
Yeah.
But so one of the first things I did is I went over to my in-laws' house and I was telling them, I'm like, this is the deal, this is what's happening. I know what I need to do. I said, I need Jesus. I
Yeah.
need to come back. So like
Yes.
I'm running, like I'm
Yeah.
like prodigal son,
Yeah, I was
man.
thinking
Like
that.
I'm running, I'm
Yeah.
running. And they're like, that's great because like they witnessed it. It was kind of like that slow motion train wreck, right? They're seeing that happen over the 13 years. So yeah, so then after that, I went to a men's retreat at church and got connected with the group of men and then joined their group and then eventually now I'm leading that group. And so then, again, asking God, like, use me, just plug me in, man.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do whatever you need me to do.
Send me,
Yeah.
Lord.
Here I
Yeah.
am, send me.
Yeah.
Isaiah 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll put that.
So, and
Yep.
then, so went through, our church has a really good 13-week program they have a grief care and they also have divorce care. So for people going through this, it's devastating. I mean, you're going through all the stages of grief. You're processing that just like you would.
Mm,
It's like a death, basically.
Mm.
So I went through
yeah.
the class, and then one of the people that was leading the class said, "Hey, you were really like you participated. You were jumping right in with questions, and would you be interested in leading?" And I'm like, well, I don't know if I feel qualified to lead. And she's like, are you divorced? Are you a believer? You're qualified,
Yeah.
And so yeah, so then I started joining where the divorce care will typically have like a man and a woman lead the each group. And so yeah, so I've done that now like three sessions now. So and
Mm,
it's just great because I think having gone through it, like the longer I'm out of it, the more I'm like, okay, I'm healed, right? But then you'll have a day where you're like, okay, maybe I'm still a little bit bitter, like, so
yeah.
like I think going through the class, it's been helpful not only just for me to continually be working and getting rid of that bitterness, because that really is one of the things that will just destroy you. So
Yeah.
like you're talking about, like you could have gone this way, Mark, or
Yeah.
you could have gone this way. And I think having strong Christian men around me
Yeah.
was really, I think that was one of the catalysts of me coming back.
Yeah.
So
Dude, that's good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Brad, I was actually going to ask you because you were mentioning the grief and the bitterness and stuff like that. Like you've talked about you and your dad in the past, and like the bitterness of him going. Like, do you guys feel like you kind of connected over
Yeah.
kind of some of the situation? Like, because you guys have known each other. I'm meeting you today,
yeah, yeah,
which is awesome. But like, how did you guys like? What connected you guys together on a deep level?
Honestly, I mean, just was it just as like auditorium hosts, or honestly, I don't
it
even
was,
really.
and I'll share something. I think I've shared this with you before. What I saw in you, because I knew you were kind of a new Christian, like new to the faith, right? And you reminded me a lot of where I was like when I was 20 when I first got saved, because like I was like, let me just preach to anyone that'll listen. And I
That
mean,
is
my poor
Brad.
sisters, who had like walked away right from the faith too. I was
Yeah.
like, man, you guys, I wasn't equipped with what I have now to be able to like gently share the gospel message. But I mean,
Sure.
not embarrassed to do it, but like I made mistakes,
Yeah.
right? So, but I'm like, man, Brad, like you're on fire, man. You're like every Sunday, you're excited. I'm like, he just reminds me of myself a little bit when I was younger. so yeah, that's kind of then I think we got talking, and it was the hosting, the ushering, or
Yeah.
auditorium host and stuff. So
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
think too, like, I mean, we just the other day we went on that trip, and like being able to chat like one on one for that long a time, because typically,
Hmm.
like, usually when we're able to hang out, we'll grab dinner and stuff. But I think like, I mean, just being able to share a lot in common, and
Right.
like really like you and I have had some deep conversations, and realizing like, dude, like, tell me what you want to tell me. Like, here I am. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Everything, right? And it's like no judgment. There's grace in that. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate your friendship, and very blessed, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me as well. It's mutual. It's I think as you start to get into ministry, it's always you always get more back.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, oh man, my time, like I don't know if I can, I'm spread kind of thin or whatever. And then you'll get just a nugget, like God just gives
Yeah.
that to you, and it feels like it's at the
Yeah.
exact right moment that you needed it. It gives you a little bit of
Isn't
boost.
there a verse that it's like it's more blessed to give than
And to
receive?
receive.
Yeah,
Something like
Right
that.
yeah,
here.
yeah.
We're doing
Um,
that a lot today.
Yeah. Kids
which
typically
it's Holy
disagree
Spirit.
with that around Christmas time, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Give
They're like,
me.
nice to say,
Give me
but I'm
gifts,
still looking
please.
for those presents
Yeah,
under the tree.
exactly.
Yes.
Where's my presents?
Yeah.
Just give-
Yeah. So
Yeah.
something I noticed too, and I want to say this before the moment passes, but it's like you guys were serving at church when you met each other and
Yeah.
stuff. So like serve at your local church. Like
Yeah,
you build
absolutely.
life-giving
Absolutely.
relationships.
Which I love that you brought that up, because
Yeah.
like obviously our church is talking about that this month, and like
Oh yeah, let's talk about that yesterday.
maybe like all of us, we can just like, for me it's like
Yeah.
I would encourage those that similar to where I was. It's like, where do I serve, right? Like,
Mhm.
what do I do? It's like, well, sometimes you just have to put your foot in the water or whatever, and it's like, hey, this is what I'm
Right.
going to do, and then try it. And if you realize like, hey, I'm not gifted at this, like for me personally, I feel like if I was doing coffee, like I feel like I'm wasting the gift that God's given me. But then again, I mean, he would use me either way, I think. But like, I guess all that to say, it's like there are people that would be gifted at like greeting people, or
Right.
like doing production, like stuff like that. God is using
Yeah.
all of us, but
Yeah. And I think some people maybe like shortchange themselves and thinking like, well, what do I have to offer? Right.
Yeah.
But like everyone has,
Yeah.
something to offer. It's like, with the children's ministry, you do not have to be a biblical scholar.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to even know all the books of the Bible,
Yeah.
right? Like the curriculum's there and you're just there serving, the
Yeah.
kids, for Jesus basically. So yeah, it's great. I love it.
And I think like just real quick to the point of like kind of piggybacking off of Justin's question originally, was like we met serving. So it's like, when you're open to serving in different areas, like, I mean, you could meet your future spouse, you could meet men in your men's group, which that's how we all met. And
Mhm.
there's men in my men's group now that I met serving. So I think that like when we're open to that, it's like God is going to do so much with that. So it's like, let our yes be yes and our no be no.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think also the thing I know that you've had some you've been praying about some stuff that
Yeah.
is coming, and so it's like just being open to God. Like, is it time for me to move away from this and onto this, and
Yep.
and so on? And so, like for me, like people may say that I'm like outgoing or like an extrovert. Like I wonder if I'm an introvert and I just don't know it. Because sometimes if I'm with a lot of people, like I feel like I need to like recharge a little bit
Yeah.
after that. So I did the auditorium host for a while, and I was like, first off, I'm so short. Like I can't tell you if there's 4 seats there. Like so they're like 4, and I'm like down there. I think
Yeah.
that you should be good
Down
over
in
there.
front,
Yeah,
Linda.
yeah.
No.
Exactly. So but so then I switched back to DV because that's what I know.
Yeah.
But I know that like each of the campuses now are splitting out and they're doing their own singles ministry. So I someone reached out and said, hey, would you want to kind of help spearhead that? And I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, I'm open, let's do it. So yeah, just having a spirit of being open to that and seeing where God leads. It's never let me down before.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
You're never gonna regret saying
No.
yes to God. You're
Yep.
gonna regret
Yep.
saying no to Him.
Yeah.
I've done that plenty of times, and I know we probably as a collective have done that. You look back and you're like, I'm not doing it that way again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I need to listen.
Mhm.
I actually
Mhm.
like, you just reminded me of something. I actually told Kyle like the other day. It's like, just imagine like ultimately God's going to use someone, but just imagine like you saying no to something could miss out on someone being led to Christ. And
Yeah.
it's like when you think about that, dude, like that's crazy, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Or, if I wouldn't have went to that worship night without you guys
Yeah.
that day, I wouldn't have met my wife.
yep.
I
Right.
met her on the prayer team that night. And it was because it's funny. It's because they weren't there. I was talking to other people and I met her.
Yeah.
But it's like, think about a lot of people who'd be like, I don't know anybody, so I'm just not going to go.
Yeah.
Versus like being like,
Right.
I'm just going to show up. I was
Yeah.
like nervous. I was
Yeah.
like, what am I
Right.
doing? And then I met her there. So, maybe there's a selfish thing in there that I'm saying too. But like, you never know what God's going to do. Lead someone to Christ. You might meet your future spouse or one of your best friends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, like
Yeah.
that story that you just shared is like, that's like prime example of like, just do it.
Yeah.
Just lean in, like go.
Yep.
Don't even if you have to go by yourself, like you're gonna
Yep.
just meet people
Right.
there, and it's
Right.
like what a blessing, man.
Yeah. Well, and I remember like the day, I think it was the weekend. I don't remember exactly the day it was that my wife said like, I think it's time. I reached out to a friend who I knew did DV, but she did it at the Cascade campus. And so I reached out and I said, "Hey, are you still going to Ada Bible?" "Yeah." And I said, could I join you? Because like I
Yeah.
don't know where to go.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, join me, meet me upstairs, grab a donut." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, they have donuts there. Grab one for me and I'll meet you up there, grab a table or whatever and stuff." So like, that person, had also been through a divorce.
Yeah.
And so like there
Wow.
was that kind of like, and guess how I knew that she was served with DV? It was through Pokemon.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
Wow.
I mean, over the years, like I had known this person for years through the Pokemon community, and she would come on Sundays sometimes after serving, had her DV shirt on,
Yeah.
and then we had our DV shirts on. It was Savannah and I. And so, but yeah, so it's those little nuggets that you see in real life happening, and you're like, thank you, God, for putting that together. Yeah. So
And it's because you said yes to serving your daughter,
right,
that you actually met her and had that. Like,
yes,
it's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Like, you
God
say
uses
yes to God.
Pokemon. God uses TV.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And I think too, like when you are like being led by the Holy Spirit, and like when the Holy Spirit prompts you, it's like lean into that. Like
Yeah.
you never know what God is going to do with that, right? And I think that oftentimes like the unexpected conversations, like I just had one Sunday, and it's like the unexpected conversations like ultimately like end up being like one of the best conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So there's just like, be open, man. Like, and I don't know, I just kind of thought about this too. It's like being like when you go to church services, it's like thinking about when you first start. I used to think like, man, I never really got anything from this message, but then like having an open heart and being able to like say like, okay, God, like what are you gonna reveal to me today, and like just have the expectation that God is going to do something no matter what, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. My favorite thing is when you're at church and you're trying to sing the song, but you're like, I just can't.
Yeah.
God's got it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so you're
Yeah.
dialed in. God,
Yeah.
that message was
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Or that song was for me. And that, it's the ministry when it happens like that it's special.
Dude.
It's definitely special.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. And thanks again, guys, for tuning in today. Mark, thanks for coming in and doing this with us.
You're welcome.
We
Thanks,
appreciate
brother.
the conversation. We appreciate your openness. I think there's a lot to learn from your story, and I'm definitely be praying that the story will reach more people who desperately need this. So, yeah. So, all right. Well,
thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Bye.